All right, we'll go ahead and get things started tonight. Again, we want to welcome everyone to our session. This is again week 3 of Finding Healing Through the Lord of the Rings as narrative therapy. Of course, this is week 3. We're going to be talking about tonight shadows and trials. Just to recap week 2 from last Sunday night, we talked about the fellowship. Last week, we explored the importance of companionship and safe places. Just as Frodo could not carry the ring alone, we discovered that our own healing journeys are sustained by friends, mentors, and communities who walk beside us. Through the fellowship map exercise, we reflected on the people, past, present, and future, who give us strength and remind us that we're not alone. Healing is not meant to be something that takes place in isolation. It's a shared journey that we all carry together. So, as we think about that, we'll go into this week's study. Week 3 is about shadows and trials facing loss and fear. Our theme for tonight, at this stage of the journey, we focus on the reality that healing involves walking through dark and painful places. Just as the fellowship passes through the mines of Moria and suffers the devastating loss of Gandalf, we too encounter seasons of grief, fear, and despair. Now, our objectives tonight, based on our theme, first, we're going to identify and name personal Moria moments, times of deep trial, fear, or loss that have shaped our journey. Secondly, we'll explore the role of grief and fear in the healing process, understanding that shadows are part of our story, but they don't define us. And then, third and lastly, we're going to reframe struggles as survivable chapters, recognizing inner strength, resilience, and the hope that even in darkness, the journey continues. As we look at what we have in focus tonight, as we go down into the mines of Moria, we know this is where that the fellowship is walking through darkness. Darkness and trials are not detours. They're very much part of the journey. Loss can shake us, but it also reveals hidden courage and resilience. Even in shadow, the story continues. The journey is not over. Now, as we frame the story, we're going to be looking at the fact that one of the most haunting scenes in the Fellowship of the Ring takes place in the mines of Moria. The Fellowship descends into darkness, pursued by shadows, and finally face the terror of the Balrog. In that moment, they suffer a devastating loss. Gandalf falls into the abyss. For Frodo and the others, this is more than the death of a leader. It is the shattering of their sense of safety. Our own journeys often take us through dark places like Moria. We face fears that surround us, losses that break us, and moments when hope feels far away. Shadows are a part of every healing story. We remember most distinctly, any of us who've read the literature or watched the movies, how devastating, how exciting, but how devastating a moment it is when we see the one who seems to have all power, who's our protector, falls down into the abyss and is lost. At this point, let's just reflect on this. Frodo is not abandoned to carry his burden alone. Companions step in, forming a fellowship that becomes his lifeline. And again, we think about who are the people that have stuck with us through thick and thin, and who are those that are pushing us on through this dark time. Now, here in segment two, we're looking at the fact that narrative therapy teaches us not to deny these shadows, but to name them. What are the Balrogs in your life, which are the fears or losses that rise up like fire and smoke? Maybe it's grief from losing someone you love. Maybe it's trauma that replays in the darkness. Maybe it's fear of failure, loneliness, or despair. So, like Frodo, we don't choose these trials, but we can choose how to face them with honesty, with companions, and with the hope that shadows are not the end of the story. When we look at journaling this week, and I ask you to do this each Sunday night, that you do this either in your head or on a piece of paper, whatever makes the most sense for you. Do it tonight, do it this week. Take a few just take a few moments, take a few minutes this week. Write about your own moments like this, where you found yourself in dark places, in what we call a Moria moment. Think about what trial or loss have you faced that felt overwhelming? How did you survive that shadowed place? What courage did you discover in yourself or from others during that time? Remember, you're not writing this as a victim, but as a survivor. The very act of naming your Moria moment transforms it from silent pain into part of a living story, your story. Now, what would this look like? Well, I've created this just so you can see an example of what you can consider this week. Step one, we want to name the shadow. By naming the shadow, we mean what trial, grief, or fear have I faced that felt overwhelming? Step two, walking in the darkness. What did it feel like to be in that place? What emotions, thoughts, or images come to mind? Was it dark? Was it a place that, although it may have been outside, it may have been very bright physically, but for yourself, it was very dark. It was a place you just couldn't see, you couldn't breathe. You just felt like everything was out of control. Now, step three, think about your hidden strengths. How did I survive? What inner strength or help from others carried me through? What are the things inside of you? What are the things that your companions, those that are closest to you, your friends, your trusted ones, your circle of support, those who give you energy, who help you go through these darkest moments? What are the things that helped you most? And then lastly, step four, carrying the memory forward. This is the most important step when you've got through here. What do I want to remember from this shadowed place about who I am and what I can endure? This is a big place for you to learn about yourself and who you are, and that you are more than what you think you can be. And as Samwise has said, even darkness must pass, a new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Now, as we think about connecting as a group, those of you that are listening live or those that are listening to this maybe through the week, you're driving your car, you're listening at work, you're on your treadmill, uh, wherever you may be hearing this, whether you're watching live or whether you're, again, hearing this later, I would invite you to share. You could put in the comments section here on our Facebook page or send me a message, just write it down. What is one shadow you faced, and how did you find the strength to keep moving forward? This story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear tonight, or maybe you need to tell somebody through the week uh, of this the inner strength you think you didn't have, but the very thing that helped you get past this seemingly insurmountable uh, place. As we draw into our closing reflection tonight, I'd like for you to think about the fact that the fellowship thought they had lost everything when Gandalf fell, but his words still echoed in their hearts when he says, "Fly, you fools." Even in the darkness, they were given a command to keep going. I don't know what they thought they were going to hear when they saw him but right before he fell into the pit, but they couldn't stop. He sacrificed himself in order for them to keep moving. Friends, your healing journey will have shadows. It's going to have loss, but the shadow is never the final word. You carry the strength to walk forward, even when light feels so far away. But you must keep going. This week, hold on to this truth. Shadows may shape us, but they do not define us. Think about what that means for you and how that's true in your own life. Shadows may shape us. Shadows will come. Hard times will arrive. You live long enough, you know this truth. But the good thing is, the truth above that is, they do not define us. So, what are we going to take away tonight before we close out our time together? Loss, grief, and fear may feel overwhelming. Like the fellowship's time in Moria, but they're survivable chapters, not the ending. So, again, remember, these things are chapters in your life, they're not the final word. So, by naming our Moria moments, we acknowledge the pain honestly, while also recognizing the hidden strength, resilience, and hope that carry us forward. And finally, we are shaped by our trials, but we are not defeated by them. Again, the shadow is never the final word. Thank you so much tonight. I appreciate your joining us, and I hope that this short lesson has given you some insight. Again, this is very general approach to what we call narrative therapy. You can take your favorite stories, you can take your favorite movies, your favorite heroes, those that you admire, and you can use it. You can use this to gain strength to guide you through. Again, this is a very general way. I wanted to introduce people to what narrative therapy can do, how powerful it can be. And this is just on the surface level. Just imagine if you take, a very serious, detailed analysis of things going on in your life and how this relates and where you can find your own strength. So I want you to consider that this week and remember us as you go about facing many of the challenges in your own life. So I'd invite you to come back next week, week 4, in finding healing through the Lord of the Rings with narrative therapy. Week 4 is about the power of small hands. So we invite you to come back, be with us, think about all of what we talked about tonight, and I hope that you'll have a great week. Until then, may you find courage in the shadow, and may hope be the light that leads you on. So good night, and I hope everything goes well.